Attention musicians of all levels. It's not always easy picking out a song by ear. Sometimes you need a little help. Well, I have the app for you. Whether you're a professional musician or a beginner, Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. For just $2.99, you get the chords and tabs on guitar, bass, or ukulele for over 1 million songs. They're all available at your fingertips. You also get tools like a tuner, metronome, chord library, lessons, videos, and more. You can find out any song you want. It also has like transpose button. It has auto scroll that you can change the speed to so you can play along with the song. A lot of the songs have the lyrics there so you can sing along with them. Ultimate Guitar is an amazing app. Just go to ultimateguitar.com or download the app to your phone today and start playing. Start playing any song you want. Ultimate Guitar, that's the place for you. Let's get down.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here is your host,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny. I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you guys have all had a good week, whatever it is you did this week. I myself have had a good week. I've been spending some time with my dog Rosie. Got to take her to the vet on Wednesday. This is her first trip to the vet. Now listen, you know, she was found on the streets of Fort Worth and by a friend of my girlfriend Terry's. And she was found chasing cars. She was rescued. They held on to her to see if her owners would come forward and say if they knew her. They didn't. So we don't really know anything about her. We don't know how old she is. We don't know what kind of dog she is or anything. So we finally took her to the vet on Wednesday and got to find out some stuff about her. She's 39.4 pounds. She's almost 40 pounds. She's looking good. Now they said, we thought she was like 4 or 5 months old, but it turns out they're like, she's not 6 months old, but she's also not like a year. So like 9 months old. She's also healthy. Great disposition. They told me that. They were like, gosh, she's a sweetheart. What a sweet dog. That's right. We're going to get her chipped. And the vet technician was said, well, you might want to wait until she goes under for her, to when she gets spayed. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, because man, it hurts. It's a big ass needle and it hurts like fuck. That's what she told me. I was like, yeah. So Rosie's healthy. She's beautiful. And she's, gave her heartworm and flea medicine today. So she's on the road to being like a real dog. She got all her vaccinations, got the rabies back. She's doing it, man. She's out there. She's ready to start getting into it with some other dogs she meets. Hopefully we'll do that this weekend. Playing with Skyrocket this weekend in Hunt, Texas, playing a party out there. And I was going to go to Houston on Sunday to see my cousin and her baby. But man, that Hunt thing is like 2.5 hours away, and then driving home that day and then driving to Houston and then driving back that same day just sounded crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on Monday, visit the family. I thought you should know that. It's me and Rosie go down there, visit the baby. Got a birthday party on Sunday night I got to go to. Got a gig Saturday night I got to go to in Hunt, Texas. Should be fun, man. You know, always a good time. Hey, gang, are you tired of people telling you your band's too loud when you're just trying to practice in your house or garage? Well, if you live in Austin, Texas, I have the solution for you. Space Rehearsal and Recording is a state-of-the-art, affordable venue for rehearsal and recording, located just a few short miles south of downtown Austin. You know, they got 31 spacious rooms. They got great PAs. They got a friendly and courteous staff there to help you. They're following all kinds of COVID-19 protocols. People are wearing masks, staying socially distanced. You bring your own microphones, I think, still. I don't know. I've got a room there. Yeah. That's how much I like it. We've had a room there since they opened. Skyrocket has. I'm there at least a couple times a week in the room, making noise as loud as I want. And listen, gang, not only are they a state-of-the-art, affordable rehearsal venue and recording venue, they're also a new place where you can film video content. They have an incredible room. You can do your band playing live, has amazing sound, great-looking room, really cool lights. Great stuff going on over there at Space. Get involved. Check them out. See the video facility. Go see the recording facility. Check out the rehearsal facility. Call them at 512-448-9518. That's 448-9518, area code 512. Or go to spaceatx.com. That's Rehearsal and Recording. Start rehearsing as loud and as often as you want with Space Rehearsal and Recording. All right, gang, I've got a great show for you today. Now, sometimes I get these requests from publicists, and they're like, hey, there's an event or a venue. We'd like you to do a whole show about it. And I'm like, well, I like to tell someone's story, not so much do like an infomercial for a thing that like 5 years from now, if someone listens to the show, it doesn't really matter anymore. But sometimes the event or the venue that people want to promote is like there's something cool about it. And I'm like, well, let's sit down and talk to this guy. So I got this thing about talking to Kris Kimura, who's a Austin-based woodwind specialist. He's a vocalist, composer, arranger. He's a band leader. Now he's a jazz club owner. He owns Parker Jazz Club here in Austin. It's at 117 West 4th Street. A lot of great people have been playing there. In fact, this week they've got Moon Tower Comedy in there. It's a great room. It's like you can see the band and the artist playing on stage. You can take go to parkerjazzclub.com and you can see the whole thing there. Anyway, I started doing a little research on Kris Kimura, and he was really interesting, man. He's been playing around for a long time. He's been playing in all these different bands: Gandia, Grupo Fantasma, Rotel and the Hot Tomatoes, Mr. Fabulous. He's had his own bands: the Kris Kimura Quartet, the Wasabi Big Band, the Wasabi Grande Big Band, Tony and June Project. He talks about spending like the early 2000s and mid 2000s doing what he called the steak and lobster circuit, which is playing at these high end restaurants where you play jazz in there. Like Sullivan's was a place like that. I think Eddie V's was a place like that. Whatever. Anyway, Parker Jazz Club is his place now. He opened it. He wanted to open a place that was friendly to artists, that paid them what they were worth, gave them the experience like to play on a great sound system, on a great stage where people could see him. Like, music is the focus. It's not a bar that happens to have music. It's a place to go see music that also happens to have a bar. Great, great, great concept. They're open 5 nights a week. They're just right in downtown Austin. As I said, 117 West 4th Street. Go to parkerjazzclub.com. We've got a lot of great stuff going on. This week they have Moon Tower Comedy. Tuesdays normally, though, they have Jazz Therapy, which is a band that Kris Kimura has there. They play every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Medical professionals and educators are allowed in free with their IDs. So, man, it's a great place. It's a great concept. I'm going to go there. I don't know if you guys have gone there. I was invited to go there, but it was during the COVID time before I got COVID, and I was freaking out about going places. But I'm looking forward to going there and seeing shows. A lot of my friends have played there. David Polkingham played there. Monty Warden played there. Elias Haslinger's played there. And of course, Kris Kimura's played there too. With his many bands. The Parker Jazz Club House Band plays there. And of course, Tuesday nights with Jazz Therapy. So I was excited to meet Kris and talk to him about his journey as an artist, as a musician. Hear his stories. Hear his actual story. So he comes on the Zoom thing, and he's at the Grand Canyon, like just with this beautiful view behind him. I was like, oh my God, where are you? He's like, I'm at the Grand Canyon. Beautiful views. So he sat out there, and we had a great conversation about his journey as a musician, told great stories about having these run-ins with Diana Krall and Elvis Costello. All kinds of great stories, and a great dude, really. And the Parker Jazz Club, he's doing a great thing with them. So go visit them at parkerjazzclub.com. See your artists that are playing there. Go down there and check them out. Great place downtown. Great place. Seems like a great place for a date. So I'm going to go there on a date. So without further ado, please enjoy my conversation with Parker Jazz Club owner, Kris Kimura. Let's get down. So you are literally like, I was like, where is that? You are at the Grand Canyon. What are you doing?
Yes, sir. Well, I knew I was. Well, I'm doing Route 66 on a Harley, so I knew I had. Yeah, I started in Chicago. I'm almost to LA, and I knew I was gonna, sit down and talk to you. So I wanted to pull over somewhere nice. So I came up to the Grand Canyon.
Thanks for doing that. It's a beautiful view. How do you?
Yeah, man.
How do you say your last name real fast?
Kimura.
Kimura. All right.
Kimura. Yeah, that's perfect.
Sorry, just making sure I have the pronunciation written down right so I don't make a fool of myself. So,
Oh, you're good, man.
so you're a motorcycle guy, you're a jazz guy, now you're a club owner.
I am. In fact, very soon to be 2 club owner.
What are you doing? What's your next venture?
Well, I can't officially say yet because the paperwork hasn't been signed, but I've got it. But I'm going to be, I'm buying out one of the owners of the Elephant Room.
Oh, great, man. Great. So
I'll be,
is that where you came up playing the Elephant Room?
Oh yeah. I think all of us came up playing the Elephant Room for sure.
Right. All the jazz guys in town.
Yeah, definitely. I would say that. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember the first time we met?
No.
Spencer Gibb is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And I met him. This was, I don't know. I think you and Jesse were dating at the time, but I met you guys at Luster Pearl. This would have been, oh my God, a long time ago. But that's the first time I met
10 or 11 years ago or something, huh?
Yeah, it's a long time ago. Yeah.
Wow. That's nuts, man.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's so much about you. Like I got this email from the Juice guys and they're like, oh yeah, the Parker Jazz Club. And I'm like, oh yeah, cool. This guy, Kris Kimura. Okay, yeah, cool. And then I started doing some research on you and you've been playing forever here. You came up playing in the Elephant Room. And then so real quick, before we go too far into your history as an artist, as a musician and a singer and woodwind player, what is a jazz club like opening a jazz club in 2021? What does that mean in this time?
Oh, I think it's crazy. It's a huge gamble. From a financial standpoint, it's just not a smart thing. From a mental health thing and from a musical aspect, from the creative side, it's essential. And luckily, I'm not the only guy in Austin that's doing this. We've got so many great clubs, with guys like Steve Wertheimer and the guys who have the sax and all this other. It's a gamble for all of us, but it's essential that somebody's got to try it. Someone's got to try and keep music alive, whether it's jazz or funk or hip hop or country, whatever it is. We have to have venues. And I'm just one of the numbskulls that's throwing my hat into the ring and we're going to give it our best. We're going to try and present this music in the best possible way that we can in a nice venue. And in these days, a nice sanitary venue where, we're safe. I certainly won't make any political statements, but I will say that, our staff are vaccinated and they wear masks, and it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future. But back in May, when things kind of slowed down a little bit, it's obvious people need music. They need live music, especially a town like Austin. And not specifically jazz, but they need live music.
Right.
And again, from a business standpoint, I think it's a horrible idea. That being said, it's either a ridiculously dumb idea or a brilliant idea. Because if history repeats itself, we're going to have another roaring 20s. I think we're going to have a renaissance for art and music. And I want to be on the ground floor. I want to be open when this COVID thing subsides, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I think the guys they're visionaries. The guys at Antone's and again, I keep mentioning Steve Wertheimer and Greg Ware and the guys at Will Bridges over at Antone's.
Right.
We're just gonna fight the good fight, and hopefully when things get back to normal, we'll be able to give. We'll be able to. There's two people that, to me, benefit. One, the artists, the musicians, in all of those venues, all the live music venues. And two, the people, because I was really surprised in May just how many people need music. They need to be able to go out. They need to be able to see live music. They need to be with their friends. And humans are social people. And I think being social with live music is it's essential. And I want to be a part of that.
That's good, man. So I haven't been to the venue physically, but I saw the 360 vision. It's beautiful.
Well, I appreciate that.
And
we spared. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say I actually got a text message from just yesterday from Monty Warden that he was going to be playing there to come out and check it out if I haven't been there yet. Yeah, you got him there on the 16th next week. So
yeah. In fact, wait, is it next week or no? It's this Thursday.
This Thursday, yeah. Sorry. Oh, I guess. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
Oh well, I'm gonna have to miss it. But this is gonna come out after that. But you've got a lot of great stuff there. You got David Polkingham, and you've also got a Tuesdays Jazz Therapy. Now you're in that band as well.
Most of the time, yes. It's the house band, so we kind of change out the players a lot. But most of the time I am there.
And so you guys also do a thing where you, it's free admission for medical professionals and educators, which I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yes. And we started that a long time ago, and really it just started with the medical professionals, because I think nurses and teachers to me are the best people in the world. And, so any, and it doesn't have to be a nurse. It can be any medical professional. What these folks are dealing with and what they've been dealing with for the last, almost 2 years. It's the smallest thing we can do, but it's something that we want to let them come out and blow off some steam for a night and do it in a place that, Parker Jazz Club is really a nice place. On Fridays and Saturdays, ticket prices are $30. This is not a hole in the wall dive bar. This is a really nice, I hate using the word world class, but it really is a world-class listening room. And we've been so blessed to have some great musicians like Wynton Marsalis come down and play.
I saw that.
And, he pulled me aside and said it was one of the best sounding, jazz rooms in the country. And he said, Austin is very lucky, to have a place like this where jazz music is presented in a way that it should be presented.
Right.
We're not, in Austin for over 20 years, I made my living. I always joke about it, calling it the steak and lobster circuit. We're an afterthought at a nice restaurant. And the Elephant Room, as much as I love the Elephant Room's a bar. And most of the people go to the Elephant Room, to socialize. If you're not in those first few rows, it's hard to really hear the music. And that's the polar opposite of what Parker Jazz Club is. It's more of a performance center with a bar than a bar with a stage, if that makes any sense.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah, but Monty coming out, Monty has just been a blessing. Just what a wonderful human being, great musician, great songwriter. I'm super excited that Darren Lane and David Polkingham are coming in.
That's really exciting too.
Yeah, because those are I've known Darren Lane forever, and he's just a sweetheart, great player. And even guys like John Pointer who have come in. John Pointer brought in Trilos Vigilantes. And they loved it because the stage is wonderful. It's just a wonderful way to present music. And it just happens to be, for the most part, it's jazz music.
Yeah.
And I'd like to keep it that way, although, if we're closed on a Sunday, and that was with John Pointer when he brought his group in, it was a Sunday. I'm normally dark. And so I have been opening up on my dark nights to any genre so that they can benefit from, all of the hard work we put into the sound. Most clubs don't start with an acoustical engineer. Ours did. So the room, any night that you want to come in, please be my guest, come down. There's no room that sounds like it. There are bigger rooms and there are, I'm sure there are better rooms, but as far as the audio quality, no one can touch Parker Jazz Club. We're very, very fortunate to have, put all the right work in the right place. And it's just, I welcome you anytime. Please come in and, come check it out.
Yeah.
It made me very happy when Spencer came in and he said that it's the kind of club you'd find in Paris or New York. And I love that because that means a lot. I know Spencer's traveled a lot. It meant a whole lot coming from him.
Yeah.
It was a big compliment.
What's cool is I saw you also have the Moon Tower. You have some nights that they're doing like 4 nights there. It seems like the kind of room that lends itself to that sort of thing is also a room that lends itself to a spoken word.
It does,
presentation.
Absolutely, because the beautiful stage, the way the room is set. There's proscenium seating. There's not a bad seat in the whole house. We're really excited to be dealing with Moon Tower Comedy. We've tried quite a few nights with local guys that have produced some comedy shows. Some have gone really well. Some have gone really, really poorly. but with Moon Tower, they're pro all the way. So I'm really excited. It's going to be the first time we've ever done it, and just dealing with the people at Paramount and with Moon Tower, they're amazing people.
Yeah.
We hosted South by, not last year, but the year before, and that was amazing. It wasn't all jazz. A lot of these musicians that came in were blown away. They're like, we can't believe this room exists in Austin, for what it is. So yes, it really, comedy is, I think we're going to find out next week, but I think comedy is going to be amazing at the club. Should be.
So, all right, dude, congratulations, because that really is a feat, and staying open and being able to keep it going through the darkest of times is pretty amazing. Right. Hopefully we're coming out of it and these shows will be attended, well attended as they can be during this time. But
correct.
So where are you from, man?
I'm a military brat, so I grew up in San Antonio mostly. We moved all around, but I mostly grew up in San Antonio. On Randolph Air Force Base. My father was Air Force.
Okay.
And so grew up in San Antonio and hanging out, going and listening to music, Jim Cullum's band at the Landing, and there's so many great musicians in San Antonio that as a young man, I got to hear all these players, and I have no one but my mom to thank, because she would take me to. She knew I liked it, so my mom would take me to to see all these great performers. I went to a little high school outside of San Antonio called Samuel Clemens in Schertz, Texas. Mm-hmm. At the time, it was a tiny little 3 or 4A school. I don't remember, but and then once I decided that jazz was going to be it, I went up to North Texas. That's when Darren Lane was up there, and you probably know 30 musicians that were at North Texas when I was there. It's a great music school.
Okay, but wait a minute. So how did music happen to you? Like, how did you discover jazz?
It's very simple. I can remember exactly what it was. In this school that I went to, this tiny little school, I was a total band geek to a T. I was the band geek, and my band director at the time started a jazz band program and asked if I wanted to join it, and I said sure, I'd love to, because I liked playing saxophone. I was absolutely mediocre at everything that I did musically, and he started a jazz band program, and he gave me a solo on a tune called Night in Tunisia, and I got to stand up and be featured, and that's where it hit me. That's where I decided this is what I had to do. This music, I got hooked. That moment was when I got hooked on this music. So hooked that I knew I couldn't do anything else with my life.
So you go to North Texas. What did that kick your ass?
Oh no, it completely destroyed me. While I was in this tiny little school, I ended up being, one of the top players, in my tiny little school. I got to play lead alto with the big band. I got all the solos after that. I thought I was big shit, and went to North Texas and was humbled very, very quickly, instantly. As a matter of fact, I hadn't even moved into my dorm room yet, and I was humbled because at North Texas you audition for the lab bands, which are legendary,
right?
And the guy who went in and auditioned before me was Will Campbell, who at the time was playing second alto in Harry Connick Jr.'s band.
Jesus.
There was another guy, Art Hayes, who you may know. Art's in Austin now. Art is just a ridiculous musician, and he ended up playing in the 1 o'clock. Those are the guys that auditioned right before me.
Right.
Needless to say, I did not make one of the 40 saxophone chairs. There are 9 lab bands. Well, I guess that would be 45. I was not one of the top 45 saxophone players, and that goes. I probably wasn't one of the top 400 saxophone players, and I only lasted a year. I did well in school because I'm a band geek. I'm a smart guy. I did well with my classes, but musically, I was way out of my league. Way out of my league. So much so that I came back home with my tail between my legs and stopped music altogether.
What'd you do?
It was, I became a bartender, and I started bartending in titty bars and did that for years. I lived the other life. I rode fast motorcycles, was hanging out with fast women. It was it was a good life. And then I realized that none of that mattered. And so I decided to get back into school. And I transferred to Texas State University, or at the time it was Southwest Texas, because Ephraim Owens was there. James Polk was there. Not Edwin, all these guys, Fred Sanders, Elias Hosslanger. Yeah. And the program at Southwest Texas, in the mid 90s was nothing short of amazing. And so I ended up transferring to Southwest Texas where, and I'm not speaking ill of North Texas, because North Texas is one of the greatest, jazz schools in the world.
Right.
But at North Texas, you have to fight your way to the top, and they push you down. And again, I don't mean this in a negative way. You have to really earn. It's a fight at North Texas. At Southwest Texas or Texas State, it was completely different. They made you a better player. They helped lift you up. And just there's some guys that thrive in the competition. I did not. I needed someone to help me. And that's what I found at Texas State with guys like Ephraim and Elias and Freddie Mendoza and Dr. Keith Winking and James Polk and John Mills. And I became a player because of that school and because of the teaching style at Texas State, which is, hey, you're not a horrible player. We're going to make you a little bit better. And then you get to say, well, you're an okay player. We're going to make you a really good player. And just as time progressed, I got to the point where I was one of the guys. And it was huge for me. The first time I got to, play on a date with Elias Hosslanger or Freddie Mendoza or James Polk, because these guys were my heroes. And they still are my heroes. I don't know what I'm saying. I'll never get to the point where they're not my heroes. And the beautiful thing about another wonderful thing about Southwest Texas is there's so many gig opportunities between San Antonio and Austin. In Denton, there's only so many gigs, and most of the big gigs, in Dallas and Denton and Fort Worth, and those gigs don't open up until somebody dies or moves away.
Right.
And I was able to quickly in San Marcos make a living, and that's all I've done since that point. Since about 1996, all I've done to make a living is play jazz music or play music.
Play music.
I can't say just jazz music, because I was so fortunate to hook up with Gandaya, and I worked with Gandaya for about 4 years. I worked with Grupo Fantasma. I worked with Dale Watson. I played with Dario y su Comborican, which is a great salsa band. I worked with Dario for like 5 years. I just met great musicians and great people, and somehow was able to eke out a living, in the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah. And then you hit the steak and lobster.
Yes.
Circuit.
And then Mike Mordecai, started giving me a chance, because Mike Mordecai doesn't just book for the Elephant Room, but at the time he was booking for everything. He was booking for Sullivan's, for C. Tejas, McCormick and Schmick. And I guess for whatever reason, I impressed Mike Mordecai, and he started giving me some really great gigs. The biggest being Eddie V's was my home for 14 years. Every Sunday and Monday, Eddie V's on 5th and San Jacinto was mine. I was the band for 14 years at Eddie V's, which opened up so many huge doors for me, because Eddie V's is, it's a wonderful restaurant, and I was, that's where I met Diana Krall and Elvis Costello. That's where I met Adam Sandler. That's where Alex Jones, love him or.
Wait a minute. I didn't mean to interrupt you right there. When you get to Alex Jones, love him or whatever feeling you might have about him. Hey, dude, did you ever watch him? Kris, did you ever watch him like in the 90s when he was on Access TV?
I didn't. And I definitely don't agree with his political,
that's good.
things. But Alex Jones loved when I played Tony Campisi's bass flute. And he would come in regularly to Eddie V's and sit right next to the band. And he ended up saying, "Hey, Kris, would you mind playing my company, my family Christmas party?" And again, I never listened to him on the radio. I knew he was a personality, but I didn't buy into his politics.
Right.
And so for 4 years, I played his company Christmas party. So it was InfoWars. And I wasn't real smart. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I will say this. I will say this. He is now that I know who he is, and I've actually listened to some of the garbage that comes out of his mouth. When it came to being a family man and taking care of his company,
sure.
he was a completely different person.
I believe that.
And he was a lovely man. And that's why we continued to do his Christmas party. He always paid us well, and he always treated us well.
Yeah.
And again, I didn't see any of the personality that's on the radio or the TV, in those instances. He was just someone that loved hearing Tony's bass flute.
Right. You know, what's funny is, I'm in this band Skyrocket, and we were playing this Halliburton company party, and I told my aunt that, and she just she was so disappointed. She was like, "You guys do that stuff?" And I was like, "Hey man, if Greenpeace hired, we'd be there before. We'd totally nix the
Absolutely.
But, yeah, but like cool people don't have any money."
Right.
So
no, I agree.
So so Elvis Costello and Diana Krall came in and saw you, and they brought you out with them or something, or
that was a ridiculous thing. My favorite, coming up, one of the reasons I went to North Texas, Diana Krall and Harry Connick Jr. were really getting very popular,
right.
In the late 80s, early 90s. And so they were my heroes. And so we're playing at Eddie V's, and my bass player at the time goes, "Dude, that's Diana Krall over there." We do like 5 or 6 of her arrangements.
Oh, really?
And I'm like, "No, it's not. I didn't have my glasses on." I was like, "No, it's not. It's not Diana Krall." And he said, "No, that's her." So we're playing. And he goes, "Dude, that is Diana Krall." And I, "No, it's not." And so when the set was over, I started to make my way. I was like, "I'm going to go find out." And I get about 10 feet away, and I realize it's Diana Krall. And all of a sudden, my heart stops. I'm having trouble breathing. I'm like, "Oh my God, it's my hero. She's been listening to me play." And all of a sudden, I was just gushing. I was about to, "Oh my God, Diana, I love you." I was ready to just gush all over her. And then I hear, "Would you mind if she sat in with you?" And I looked over, and it was freaking Elvis Costello. Didn't even know he was there. And so he was the sweetest, most generous man with compliments. And he said, "Well, why don't you join us?" So, the night was over. The set was over. So I sat down with them during the break, and I got to meet, my hero, Diana Krall. And then I got to meet someone that I never thought in a million years I would meet, because Elvis that's other level. Diana's jazz famous. Yeah. Elvis Costello is an icon. And he couldn't have been lovelier. So I sat down with them and talked to them for a bit. And he asked again, "Well, would you mind if she sat in?" And I said, "Absolutely not." So Diana came up and played, a couple tunes with us, 2-3 songs. And I was just on cloud 9, and all the pictures, show that I'm wetting myself the whole time. Eddie V's, I was literally 1 foot. I could smell her hair. That's how close I was to her. It was unbelievable. So at the end of the night, I went back and sat down with them. They invited me, and, I don't drink, but they had a couple glasses of wine, and I had a Dr. Pepper, and I just got to talk to them about music and life, and it was lovely. And Elvis said, "Well, we're gonna head out of here, but we're in town for one more day. Are you playing anywhere tomorrow?" And I said, "Actually, yes, I am. I'm back here tomorrow, because I have every Sunday and Monday." And he said, "We'll be back." And I thought, sure, that's what famous people say. And the next day we show up for our gig, and they're there before we are. They're sitting at the same table. They're waiting for us to play. And then so we invited Diana up, and then Elvis came up and played with us.
Whoa.
So Elvis sang, there's a great, I'm a huge Chet Baker fan, and there's a great video, and it's old, probably 70s, at Ronnie Scott's, where Chet Baker's playing, and Elvis Costello sits in, and he's got his lyrics, and he's singing with Chet Baker. And that's what it felt like to me. I felt like, oh my God, I've got Elvis Costello. He sang My Funny Valentine with us. And it was just unbelievable. So after that night, I kept in touch with both of them. Elvis Costello, actually, if you go to his website, he's got a page called Gigography, which lists all his gigs. He listed those 2 nights at Eddie V's with my band.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which was unreal. And so at the time, my now wife was living in Philadelphia, and I was visiting Philadelphia, and Diana Krall was playing. So I called Diana and said, "Hey, I'm going to come see you. I want to introduce you to my wife." She goes, "Oh, don't worry about it." So she comped me tickets. We got to go hang out with her, and which was just lovely. And every time Diana comes to town, wherever she's playing, she always finds me. And she comes and says hi.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was unreal. And then one other real quick thing about this, and I know it's lame, but I'm a very, I'm a romantic person, and things mean a lot to me. When it was time to open up my club, and I needed a piano, I decided that the only piano that Parker Jazz Club could have would be the one that Diana Krall played on, and that I got to play with Elvis Costello. So I called Mike Mordecai, and I said, look, I don't care what it costs. I want the piano from Eddie V's. And so he sold it to me, and I bought the piano from Eddie V's, had it completely rebuilt, and that's the piano that's at Parker Jazz Club right now.
Oh, that's a great story, man. That's a great story.
Yeah, and it's actually, and actually, I know Diana will be coming and playing the club. I don't know when, but I know she's coming because I've been working with Dr. Alton Barron, with the Musician Treatment Foundation, which is a wonderful nonprofit. Alton is a ridiculous human being. He's a surgeon, and he basically provides shoulder, arm, and hand surgeries for free to musicians.
You're kidding me.
And you know a lot of these musicians. In fact, just a couple months back, some of the musicians that he's performed surgeries for played at the club. Mike Stern, Bill Evans, Keith Carlock. These are guys that he's done, surgeries on. Locally, he's worked with Peggy Stern. He's worked with, what is his name? Plays with, John Pointer, Jose Ibanez, I believe. So I'm working with him. Well, the board members, on Musician Treatment Foundation are Elvis Costello and Diana Krall.
Oh, hello.
And when I spoke to the doctor about how much I love Diana, and I told him about the piano, he forwarded that information to Elvis and to Diana, and we're going to do a big fundraiser, a VIP fundraiser at the club with either one or both of them.
Well, that's cool.
So I'm super excited. Yeah, I'm super excited. Again, just because she's been my hero since I fell in love with this music. Her and Harry are my ultimate heroes.
Harry Connick Jr., baby.
Yeah, I can't say enough good things about Harry Connick either. He is, well, I could talk about him for days, but I will just say this. Sorry, I'm smoking so much. I apologize.
That's all right. I just quit a month ago today.
Oh, good for you, man.
I'm doing the Juul thing, so.
Okay, well, it's a nice transition. That's cool.
I got COVID, and I'm vaccinated, but I still got it, and so it was a month ago, and I was like, well, I guess it's a good time as any. How bad was it? It wasn't bad.
It was a breakthrough. How? Okay, good.
Wasn't that bad?
That's good to hear.
Mostly, I just felt like I was tripping on acid, to be honest. I mean, the smell and taste thing is really, but honestly, I was like kind of out of my head. I would get up and cross the room, and I'd be like, wow, when I move my legs, I move across the room. It was like that kind of thing.
Well, God willing, if I do get it, which I think we're all going to get it, I hope it's a light case like that. I know a bunch of musicians that have had breakthrough cases, and that's been the norm. It's been, maybe a fever and sniffles for a few days, a little lightheaded, loss of smell and taste, but pretty light. So here's to that.
So what are your protocols there at the Parker Jazz Club?
Everyone has to be masked. Let me rephrase that. All of the staff is fully masked and vaccinated. As far as guests that come in, I really wanted to say you have to have your mask to come in. And we live in Austin, and you probably know that's not a good business decision in Austin. No. It really isn't, and so it's a necessary evil. It's one of these things where if I just allow the left-leaning non-Trump supporters in my club, I'm going to get shut down because none of them are coming out right now. Yeah. They're taking this very seriously. Yeah. They're not going anywhere that's indoors. I mean, I'm in a basement. I'm in the worst possible place. So I do know that since we were able to reopen, it is not my crowd. It is not the people that would regularly be in. I'm not saying they're bad people. But I miss my clientele, and they're not going to come out until at least we're back in stage 3. I mean, that's the minimum.
Right.
They're certainly not coming out during stage 5. But, I could be upset and say, well, I don't like the opinion of the rate, and I don't want to let them in my club. But as a business owner, that's the single dumbest thing I can do. So since I can't control really the people that are coming in, we do recommend everyone wear a mask. If you're not seated and drinking, please wear a mask. But we're not enforcing it, because if I tried to enforce it, I'd be on the news. One of my staff members would get attacked. It's ridiculous to me. My son, Parker, who the club is named for, is a first grader at Cedar Creek Elementary in Eanes ISD. And the first day of school, my school, that Parker's at, made national news because a parent ripped a face mask off a teacher.
Yeah.
At my son's school.
Yeah.
And so we're still dealing with that in Austin. And again, I'm not saying these are bad people. I think that they could use a little more. I can't even say that. I don't want to say anything negative about these people.
I think what's happened is that we live in a world where we can, instead of getting one news source from like a place that's like, hey, this is the news, there's so many different outlets that they've realized that they can cater to tell people what they want to hear. And I feel like, not just blaming the news, but it's a big problem. I feel like people, you know what I mean?
It's a huge problem.
Yeah. But
no,
that aside,
no, and it's yeah.
Oh no. But that aside, tell me about the Texas Jazz Society.
Okay, Texas Jazz Society is actually something that started before COVID hit. I am first and foremost, I am a musician. That's why when you walk into the club, you're going to realize the club was made for musicians. One of the issues that I found out very quickly, owning and operating a jazz club or a music venue, period, is it's very difficult to pay musicians what they're worth. Very difficult. It becomes incumbent on either the musicians or their fan base to sell a bunch of booze so that the venue has enough money to pay them well.
Right.
It's not like the parish where you can get 300 people in there and charge a $5 cover and actually pay musicians off the door. It's only 100 seats, and now post-COVID, I'm only seating 75 people. We're never going to go above 75 people. So the issue always at Parker Jazz Club, because of the size of the venue, was paying musicians what they're worth. And since day one, I always paid musicians what they were worth. I'm not talking out of school here. Most club dates for jazz musicians in Austin, in San Antonio, you're going to get a $300 or $400 gig for 4 hours.
Yeah.
That's for the band. You're going to make $300 or $400 for the band. And that could be for a musician as ridiculous as Dr. John Mills,
sure,
or Ephraim Owens.
Yeah.
That's the going rate. And I didn't want that. So I was basically paying that for one 90-minute set. And I found out very quickly that my idealism and my love for musicians was completely opposite of what you need as a business owner.
Right.
And so we started the Texas Jazz Society with the whole idea that it was no longer incumbent on the musicians or their fans to sell booze. The musicians come, they get treated like artists. They get paid well. If the bar only sells $500 in booze that night, it doesn't matter. Texas Jazz Society would come in and subsidize what the club could pay them and make sure that the musicians were paid a fair wage. So a great example would be, Elias Hoslinger's band. Elias, again, one of my heroes, one of Austin's treasures, in my opinion. So Elias would come in on a Friday night and play one set, and maybe we only did, $800 in alcohol sales. Elias is worth a lot more than that.
Yeah.
So I would make sure that Elias got paid what I think he should get paid, which was triple what he makes at the Elephant Room.
Right.
Because I want musicians to get paid well. And so when we started Texas Jazz Society, in the first month, we raised over $100,000, which was wonderful. So then I got to be two different things. I got to be a club owner and worry about sales on liquor and things like that. And then I got to be a music producer and bring in the acts that I wanted to bring in and pay them what they needed to get paid.
Right.
And it was no longer important what we sold in booze. Because I don't think art should come with an asterisk. It's only art. You're only going to get paid for your art if you sell booze. I'm sorry. Our job as musicians, and I'm speaking to you as well, our job as musicians and artists is to present and create art, not to sell booze.
Yeah.
And again, my club may close down in a year because I'm always going to feel this way. I feel like it's our job to create and present art and not sell booze. So when COVID hit Texas Jazz Society, it took a little turn. In the sense that now we've got this money, the club is closed down.
Yeah.
I've got a bunch of musicians that have zero income. And so Texas Jazz Society sponsored 2 live streams every week. And it wasn't just about the musicians, it was about the engineers as well.
Yeah.
So, Mac McDonald, who is my main engineer, is one of my favorite people in the world. I'm not talking out of school here either. He would have been homeless had he not had an income for 16 months. And Texas Jazz Society made it possible for me to have, about 12 musicians continue to pay their rent.
Right.
And it was wonderful. And, since then, we've continued to raise money for Texas Jazz Society. So when we're able to open again at full capacity and everyone's able to come back out, I'll be able to, again, present great jazz music in a great room and pay the musicians what they're worth.
Right.
Or at least much closer to what they're worth. Not like a normal, I worked with, I've already mentioned a bunch of bands in Austin that I've played with. I mean, I remember going on the road with Gandaya, who I love all of those guys, and musically it was very fulfilling. But I remember, playing in Houston and making $5. Yeah. Yeah. I remember going to New Orleans and having to put in money so we had enough gas to get back home.
Right. Yeah.
To me, that's unacceptable. Artists and musicians that are, at a certain level, and I'm not saying they have to be at Wynton Marsalis's level. I'm saying this, just if they're able to present their music in a way that, makes people happy, they should get paid. And they shouldn't get paid $5 or $10. They shouldn't get paid in beer. They shouldn't get paid in food. They should get paid a wage because they're providing something. And again, I'm very idealistic, and that's why, if we had the same conversation 5 years from now, I might be an electrician at that point. But I'm gonna be stalwart in my opinion that musicians need to get paid as much as they possibly can. Obviously, I'm not going to pay a local musician $5,000 on a Friday night if there's no business. I've got a capacity of 75 people. Even if they're heavy drinkers, I'm not doing more than $3,000 for that set that they're playing.
Right.
And I've got overhead. I'm in the warehouse district. I'm in one of the most expensive areas of Austin to be renting. So I do have overhead. So that for me, the last 4 years now has been all about just trying to find that fine line between my naive idealism and, the shark businessman that I'm never going to be. I want to keep the club open. And that's why guys like Will Bridges and Steve Wertheimer, they're my hero because they figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
They figured out how to pay musicians what they're worth and present great music and great acts and great art in their venues, all the while making their venues profitable enough that they can stay open. And I lean on them. I call Will all the time and say, what am I doing wrong? I've had some great conversations with Steve Wertheimer, with Greg Ware. I'm new to the business of music venues. I'm not new to music, but I'm new to the business. And one thing that COVID has done, it's put us all, it's leveled the playing field. We're all in the same boat now.
Yeah.
All of us are trying to get people to come out and still maintain as much social distancing and as much, responsibility as we can with COVID being what it is.
Right.
And it's been as horrible as it's been. Man, I don't think I ever could have called Will Bridges or Steve Wertheimer and had conversations like I've had. Not that they're not great guys, but they wouldn't have understood where I was at.
Right.
We all understand. We're all dealing with the same situation right now. And I'm very optimistic. I'm so optimistic that I'm buying into the elephant room. I'm optimistic that a year from now, a year and a half from now, we're going to have this renaissance. We're going to have this roaring 20s thing. We're going to have this thing where musicians and artists are going to be appreciated again, which I already think has happened. You take away music from everyone for 2 years, all of a sudden they go, you know what? Even though I only went out once a month, I really miss it.
Yeah.
I miss seeing live music, all genres.
Yeah.
And I want to be a part of that. And I think that if as long as nothing crazy happens, I think the next year to 2 years is going to be a magical time for all of us, all of the musicians. I think we appreciate it, and I think we're going to have opportunities to perform and to make money and to create art and to present art. And my hope is that all of these new folks that are moving in, because I can't believe how many people have moved to Austin, even during COVID. I'm hoping that Austin doesn't lose its charm and Austin doesn't lose its love for live music with all these new folks moving in. Again, I'm optimistic. That's why they moved here.
Yeah.
So as long as when all this COVID mess is over, they're going to be able to patronize these places, I think we're going to be in great shape.
Yeah, me too. I hope so. Well, man, I love what you're doing, and I love your dedication, and the fact that you're a musician. It's interesting. I was watching. It's not related, but it is. I was watching this documentary about this crazy doctor, and who was terrible, and none of these hospital CEOs would report him to the Texas Medical Association. And it's because they're CEOs and they're not doctors. You know what I'm saying? One guy gets on there and talks about it.
Sure.
He's like, here's these guys running this thing that's a humanitarian operation, but they're bean counters looking at a bottom line, which is, again, why people would be more interested in the sales of booze at a place than the actual level of music that's going on. Because you see that downtown. I mean, not so... look, I've seen it in the Warehouse District too, but there's a thing that happened on 6th Street where they pay musicians such little money that when you walk down 6th Street, which I do have once every year and a half or 2 years, or when I'm going to the Belvedere Room or something to see some comedy, I'll see a lot of shitty music, man. And a lot of it is because the guys that can really do it, they don't offer them the money, I don't know. To me, it's like a crappy business there. But I'm glad somebody that's a musician and that has that sort of like dedication to music and excellence wants to provide that experience for customers and for musicians alike.
Well, I feel I appreciate that, and two, I feel like I've got some big shoes, with guys like Steve Wertheimer and, the guys at the Saxon and Will Bridges at Antones, because I feel like they're doing the same thing, whether they're musicians or not. Yeah. They really do care. And I think that there are enough of them, and I'm calling them and saying, what can I do? What can I do? And they're giving me pointers. All of them have been just so generous with their experience and with their knowledge. And like I said, I'm going to continue doing it. And it means a lot because you're a musician. I know who you are. I've known who you are for a long time. Pretty much anyone that I met through Spencer Gibb is somebody. And when Spencer, you got to meet this guy. Yeah. I knew you were somebody important, and I'm glad, for your podcast. I've actually had the opportunity to check out, several of these when Ju said, "Hey, Johnny's going to do a podcast with you." I was like, okay, this is exciting. So I went back and listened, and I feel like the secret to our success, all of us collectively, is just us working together and collaborating and talking and not being closed-minded, and this sense of community, which is one of the reasons that I moved to Austin. It's still here, and we need to keep it here. And I'm just thankful for you taking the time to talk to me. I really am.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to going and checking out Parker Jazz Club. And also I'm so not jazz. Like Elias and I went to high school together here, and we've always been friends. But I've always told him, and a couple of Brandon Temple too, like the Elephant Room, like I always feel like I'm going to catch on fire when I walk in there because I'm so not jazz. But I'm learning about jazz.
Well, man, I am convinced, other than a few of the jazz stops which we have in town, man, good music is good music. Yeah. And if it's presented in a way, it should be you should be welcomed. You're a great musician in what you do.
Right.
You should be welcomed and respected.
I am.
And you
it's
are.
me that it's me putting the thing that I'm scared that like they're gonna be
sure.
like, you're not a jazzer. Get out of here with your just G chord.
Well, that's how I feel when I get calls to do sideman gigs with pop bands or funk bands. I'm like, I'm obviously a fraud because I don't know this music, and that's one of the reasons I love Monty Warden. Man, talk about the most humble cat, and he's not doing jazz, he's doing his thing. But it's so amazing. I was like, you know what, this is if Wynton Marsalis came down and saw Monty Warden. He's going to say two things. One, he's going to say, man, this is not jazz. This is a jazz club. And then he's going to say, hot damn, this guy's great.
Yeah.
He's talented.
Well, what Monty is doing, it's weird because he went to those dudes that wrote those songs and like wrote songs with them. You know what I mean? He went to the source.
Yeah.
There's some expensive chords in those tunes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so funny how that worked out because Floyd Domino's a friend of mine, and Floyd said, "Hey man, there's a guy you got to check out. I think he'd be perfect for the room." And he says, "It's not really jazz, but I want you to give him a shot." And out of respect to Floyd Domino, absolutely, let's do it. And it only took the first song for me to realize Monty is a wonderful musician, a great songwriter, and on top of all that, one of the sweetest and humblest human beings I've ever met. So he's regular now. He's got a monthly gig at the club, and he will always have one. Whether he is, it's funny. You got Elias Hosplanger one night, and then Monty Warden the next. And from a marketing standpoint, those are pretty two very different things.
Extremely, yeah.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's great music. It's presented in a great way by wonderful musicians, whether their genre is jazz or Monty has this term that he uses. He called, I guess it's a country term. He goes, in jazz circles, we call everybody, oh, that cat can play. That cat can't play. That cat's sad.
Right.
It's all about cats. And in Monty's world, he calls them pickers. And that's new to me. I'd never heard that term. And then you don't even have to play guitar. He's like, oh man, that guy can pick. Oh, he's a picker. And so I'm learning some of the, colloquialisms in Monty's world, which is just amazing to me. Because he's such a sweet guy. So yeah, anytime you want to come to the club, please just shoot me an email, Kris@parkerjazzclub.com. I would love for you to be my guest.
Great, man. Thank you.
I loved it when Spencer came down again, because that just, his comments just meant the world to me. And whenever a musician comes down, it means more than anything.
Yeah.
And not a jazz musician. Alex Marrero is a good friend of mine.
Oh yeah,
and he gave us. Yeah, and he gave. I worked with Alex with Gandaya. That was his band.
Right.
Alex came in and said some of the most wonderful things about the club and about me, and it just meant the world. Because man, Alex is another one of those guys that I have never been like. I told my sister this. My sister does all of our social marketing, and I told the guys from Juice this too. It's like, I'm not one of the cool kids. You're one of the cool kids. Spencer Gibb is one of the cool kids. Elias Hoslinger is one of the cool kids. Brendan Temple is, you don't have to be a particular genre to be one of the cool kids, but I've never been one of the cool kids. Until the day I die, I'm always going to be the band geek that looks at guys like Alex Marrero and you and Spencer Gibb. Like, you guys are the cool guys. And it means the world to me that I'm getting to have conversations with the cool guys.
Yeah.
And don't take that as a negative thing. I mean, it's nothing but admiration. It really is.
I don't think any of us feel like the cool kids, though.
Yeah, but you are. There's no question. You guys are.
I appreciate that, but I don't know, man. Well, dude, people can find Parker Jazz Club at parkerjazzclub.com. It's at 117 West 4th Street over there in the Warehouse District.
Yeah, we're right below Capitol Grill and Raw Sushi.
Yeah, and your bands, the Wasabi Big Band, Big Band Grande or Grande Big Band, and the Tony and June Project, and of course the Kris Kimura Quartet, and you're also in the Jazz Therapy Band, right?
I am. I play quite a bit at the club with a bunch of different groups. And, because first and foremost, I'm a musician, I got to play. And since I have to live at the club, I do play at the club fairly often. And, in a bunch of different settings, which is awesome. So I'm truly, I could not be living my dream more than, honestly, I own a jazz club that I get to play at, and I'm at the Grand Canyon right now.
I know
it truly, I could not be happier. And even if you took away the wonderful motorcycle ride and the club and the playing, I just feel lucky anyway, because my son Parker is 7, and like I couldn't be luckier. And so I feel guilty sometimes that with everything that's happened over the last 2 years, I still have a club. So many guys lost their places. I still have a great kid. I've got a great wife.
Yeah.
I've still got a bunch of great musicians. So I am truly just, I hope it never ends, but I truly am living my dream right now. And God willing, I'll be able to keep the club open and help out as many musicians as I can by giving them a great stage to perform on, and a great podium, to present their art. And I'm looking forward to the future. And again, God willing, this COVID thing will be over soon, and we'll all get back to doing what we do, and not the term for the last year and a half for all of us has been, we have to pivot.
Yeah.
I don't want to pivot anymore. I just want to do what I do,
That's so funny. I moderated two panels that were called Time to Pivot.
Yeah. And honestly, we've gotten good at it. We've all gotten good at the pivot, and I'm done. So we've all proven we can do it.
Yeah.
Now let's get back to what we do. We're musicians, we're artists, we're creatives. And I'm not saying that some of the things that we were forced to do with the pivot aren't going to continue, but they're not going to be our main focus anymore.
Right.
I want to focus on music and having musicians come in, and just watching them create art and watching, the other side of that is just watching the joy on people's faces when they can come in and get treated to great musicians on a great stage in a great room.
Yeah.
So,
well, dude, thank you for what you do. It's great seeing you again, and I look forward. I'll hit you up, man. I'm definitely going to come down and hang out.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it, brother. Thank you so much,
Be
man.
safe out there and have a great time.
All right, will do.
All right,
I appreciate you, man.
Take care, brother.
All righty. Okay. All righty.
That was Kris Kimura talking to me all the way from the Grand Canyon in America, where he was riding a motorcycle across country. What a cool dude. I felt like such a weenie. Oh yeah, I'm just in my house here. Go check out parkerjazzclub.com. Get out there and see a show. They got a Moon Tower Comedy going until the 25th this week. If you got tickets to that, maybe go see what's going on over there with comedy. It looks like it'd be a great room for comedy too. Got to get out there. Parker Jazz Club, 117 West 4th Street. I want to thank Kris Kimura for sitting down and talking to me in the middle of his cross-country motorcycle ride. Go to parkerjazzclub.com for all your Parker Jazz Club needs. And gang, don't forget, when you're out there checking out parkerjazzclub.com, you can subscribe to this podcast wherever that you find podcasts, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Stitcher, anywhere. New shows all week, every week. Plus, I'm dropping a From the Vault episode every Sunday this month, and probably in October too. So 3 shows a week, 2 new ones, 1 old one. If you're new to the show, you can check out our show by joining the Podbean app. Getting the Podbean app, you'll have access to all 1,093 episodes of our show. All right? All right, have a great weekend. Whatever it is you're doing, I'll be thinking about you. Let's get down.